So we'll talk a little bit now about the different embraces that we use in tango, starting with a very open embrace. When we have an open embrace like this, if we're talking about the open side of the embrace, I sometimes say we want the hands at more or less at the shoulder level of the two, and we want the hands to be in between us, so neither one of us is dominating the embrace. The elbows and the shoulders should be down, so we want to be careful not to internally rotate the arms to get our elbows up like this, then we end up in a pushing match. We also want to have a little bit of space here, so we don't want to peg our elbows to the side. And I sometimes say for the leaders, you want to imagine you have a sun in the palm of your left hand that's shining down on the two of you, making sure that neither one of us is gripping the other person's hand. That might be a deal breaker in terms of whether they want to dance with you again or not. The follower should be able to receive a quote-unquote pull in the fingers here, and also a push at the base of the palm. And now when I say pull and push, I'm really meaning a small amount of pressure that's created from the leader's core moving, but the arms are going to be an extension of the core in an open embrace. So we're here on the closed side of the embrace. The leaders, you have your follower in your wrist, and your right hand is by her left shoulder blade. You also want to allow your right hand to relax enough that it contours to your follower's back. We don't want to push the fingers together or create any too rigid of a structure, because then it will decrease the surface area, which will increase the force on your partner's body. And we don't want a lot of force there. For the followers, your thumb is here, so you're able to receive a quote-unquote push, and your fingers are behind, so you're able to receive a pull. So the 4 connection points are these two, and then the 2 on the open side of the embrace. We want to start off with our bodies totally in front of each other, shoulders completely parallel. Right? Now things will change. If we're in an open embrace, we also need to be able to roll so that we close the closed side of the embrace. Right? So a position like this in this dance, we don't want to have our hands scrunched up like this. We want to be able to slide across the body. Right? And when we do that, if we show you from an angle where you can see, we're starting off here. As I take the open step, I'm relaxing my right hand. Both our bodies turn and our arms simply slide across. We don't want to lift them up and replace them. They keep contact, they slide across, right? And then they're also able to slide back open. And once we slide back open, followers remembering to keep this position here. It's rare, but occasionally we might have a situation where we're closing the other side of the embrace like this. In this case, what I'm doing is I'm bringing my left hand, I'll show you from the other angle. I'm bringing my left hand to my left shoulder in order to accommodate the position that's necessary, perhaps to do a movement like this. Again, it's unusual, but we want to be able to have that flexibility to roll one side of the embrace closed or the other side of the embrace closed, as well as keeping the more neutral position. If we move a little bit closer into a sort of V embrace, we're replacing now this connection with this connection, with the shoulder-to-shoulder connection. So we want to feel that we come a little bit forward so that we have a little bit of compression here on this closed side of the embrace. At this point now I have the follower in my elbow, and my whole right arm is contouring to my follower's body. And for the followers, you're also sliding the arm across. If you're at a height difference like we are now, you can see that Jenna has her hand is making contact, and she's trying not to trap the leader's right arm with her upper arm. So that's one thing for the followers to know, that you shouldn't push down or in on the leader's right arm. That's the only thing that leaders are going to complain about. So in this case, she's creating the connection with her left hand, right, and trying to stay really light up here. This side of the embrace is the same as before. Now, some people might dance straight on. Some people might V the body slightly. Typically, when the Ving happens, it's the leader that Vs slightly and the follower that keeps this neutral position. We can also dance right in front of each other, so our toes are meeting, or a little bit offset, which I don't know if you can see in the camera, but it's my foot, my foot, her foot. So we have different variations of straight on, a V position, offset, or directly in front that we start to see. And that's going to depend on the different body types. One more thing, if you're more or less the same height, then as a follower, this arm might go up more like this, right? If I pretend like I'm someone shorter here, right? So this arm can also slide up around across like that. Or even with someone the same height, it could go around the back as well. That's up to you and what's most comfortable for you. If we dance in a close embrace, I distinguish between an open embrace and a close embrace, as simply close embrace is when the bodies are touching. Open embrace is when the bodies are not touching. And there's some technical differences that arise in the dance out of the two. If we're in close embrace, what we're doing is bypassing the arms so that all the lead and follow is being transmitted through the bodies. Now we want to have a connection rib cage to rib cage, so we're not connecting belly to belly up here. We're trying to connect high so that we have room for the legs to dance. Again, we could be straight on, we could be slightly offset, we might be a little bit V'd, we might be offset and V'd. We don't want to ever have the follower way off to the side like this. Now in close embrace, what I'll do as a leader to prevent pushing the follower this way, because that makes it very uncomfortable for her, is to draw my left hand back slightly towards my own body. That way it gives her a more comfortable position. Also, if you and your partner tend to get into pushing matches on the open side of the embrace, you might consider giving the follower your thumb, and at which point as a follower you can rest your forearm on the leader's bicep, and that way as a leader you can have your left arm a little higher. This creates a real comfortable embrace for both of us, and also gives an extra sensation like the follower is kind of in a protected state, or almost in sort of like a cocoon. So it creates a really nice, comfortable atmosphere in the embrace, and also we have no leverage for pushing on the open side of the embrace. Now when we're in a close embrace, we can also distinguish between a rolling close embrace where the bodies are rolling, in which case we're going to get a pivot in Ochos, or a non-rolling close embrace where the connection in the upper body stays the same, in which case we might get an Ocho that doesn't have a pivot. So we want to be flexible on both the leader side and on the follower side to see what works best in the moment with the partner that you're with, and being able to adapt with whatever embrace that we're thrown into.